The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondell, and I am bringing back one of our show friends here, Brandon Bing, country rising star. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm good. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, you've got some new things coming up, and I know since we talked, it's been a few months, and you've been busy, I see. So let's talk about some of your new things, like Back in the Woods, your new project. Let's talk about that song.
Yeah, I just released that one about 3 weeks ago. And it was a fun project to work on. I just cut that one back in June, and it was kind of a cool time to release it coming into hunting season. And I think one of the biggest things for me, putting that record together was just the craziness. Like, I was looking back the other day, talking to some friends, and I was just like, man, so like you write so much. And I was like, yeah, I have so many different songs, and I've been trying to be more like organized, I guess, because I procrastinate. I mean, I don't know how to say it, man. I got like ADHD. I procrastinate. I'm so like, I got papers in my guitar case falling out everywhere. They're like, I don't know how you remember all this stuff, but I'm like, I was like, I question myself sometimes, how do I just kind of keep things on a straight, track? And I was going back on songs that I was going to cut for an upcoming project that I was working on, and I was trying to figure out, what the theme or what the direction I was trying to go with, with my fans and other people that support my music and listen to it, and even people that I'm trying to capture in different markets. And that was one of the songs that I decided to pull out of the catalog. And funny enough, I actually wrote that song probably a little over 2 years ago. I wrote that song, and I actually wrote it. It was probably the longest time I was ever sitting in a deer climber. I was up there in a tree sitting for about, I think it was like 15 or 16 hours with a buddy of mine. And he was in his tree probably about 500 plus yards away, and I'm sitting up there, and we were just waiting because we knew that these deer were going to be coming around with the way the moon phase was moving. And I was like, I don't think we should get down for lunch. Let's just sit up here. And while I was sitting up there, I was just taking in the environment and everything that was going on and just all the experiences from hunting in the past. And, yeah, man, it just kind of manifested and wrote that record, Back in the Woods. And I was really happy how it came out.
Another one of them good old hunting days. Boys getting all together for another trailblaze. It's a forest revival, an hallelujah praise. Rattlesnakes, thick muck, dragonflies, and tall brush, alligators, black bear, bobcats, I'm there. One shot, lights on, found the game, drag home. It's just another one of them good old hunting days. Boys getting all together for another trailblaze. It's a forest revival. Hallelujah, praise. Because we're chasing that whitetail to pave our way. It's a once-a-year season that we get the itch. And by the time it's done, we can't wait for it again. Family and friends coming over to feast again. It's time to celebrate the catch and get drunk off your feet. Moonlight, soft glow, down the trail I go. Check station, take a pic, tag out, outlet, section up, truck, ride out tonight.
Super excited about it. It's out on all platforms right now, and it's been doing really well actually over the last few weeks. So very blessed about that as well.
The first thing I thought of is growing up in Minnesota, and people who grew up in certain areas of the country or certain environments or certain geographic locations. I mean, there's something that you can't explain when it comes to outdoors, right? Whether it's hunting, fishing, whatever. There's a camaraderie there that you can't. It's unmatched by anything, really, as far as I'm concerned. Growing up, I mean, you kind of look forward to certain seasons, and getting together with your friends and your family, and I mean, it's almost like a tradition that you can't miss. I mean, it's something that you do whatever you can to get out there, right? I mean, there's nothing like it. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, and that was one of the things. I mean, just as a songwriter, and also just as someone that's, out there doing, living life just like everybody else that we know, hunting truly is just one of those special times of year. And I really wanted to convey that in the story, as you know, from, a lot of my other songs and of course this one, I'm always trying to paint a picture and tell a story. And I really wanted to bring out all the, and conceptualize everything, all the different finite details and nuances that you experience no matter what part of the country you're from. Like you mentioned, being in Minnesota, I'm down here. Obviously the topography from up there to down here is different. We're, swampland and palmettos, you got more of a drier climate and cold climate and things like that, and open plains. So it's like, but allowing people to just kind of, when they're hearing this record, to take themselves in a different place in their mind and just go back to those moments and relive what it's like to, be out in the wilderness in raw nature, God's country, and just taking in, every aspect from getting ready for your hunt to, trying to, scope out whatever game you're going after, to harvest, to put meat in the freezer to feed my family. But then also it's a trophy of, being able to show the respect, the respect of that animal. That fight is something that you never forget, and being able to share that with friends and family and loved ones, man, it's just a feeling that, never goes away, and every time it's just a different experience every time,
Yeah, it brought me back for sure. So it definitely affected me as soon as I listened to the words. It was great. Back Porch, Smoky Bars and Guitars, Barnes, Babes, and Bourbon. I mean, some of these songs that, we featured on our last show, I mean, these are just feel good. There's a feel good vibe. And, we talked about the barn down in Sanford, Florida, some of these great places that, feature line dancing and some of the great country music down there. And, just Back in the Woods and, some of the other stuff that you have coming out. I mean, I understand you have some new music coming out. So talk about some of that.
Yeah. This year, as you know yourself, it's just been a really crazy year for a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't even want to remember 2020. I mean, I think anything that we can do to forget this year is kind of, that's what we're all trying to just wait for, these next 2 months to kind of tick down. So 2021 is a fresh start. And really, man, it's given me a huge opportunity to just press that restart button and really value the things that are important in my life, the people that surround me. And I think that was one of the deciding factors, a few months into this whole pandemic situation, that when I was getting ready to figure out what the next songs that I was going to cut on this next project that I'm going to be putting out was, where was I, from Sunday Funday to the Florida Man EP, and where am I trying to go with the listeners that support my music or the newcomers that find my music. And I want to peel the next layer of the onion. So I got some really, deep. I got deeper songs on this run. I'm really digging deeper into the lyrical content, some of the wordplay, but also just the raw instrumentation, man. I think, one of the things that's always been concerning to me as an up and coming artist is I think that there's so many cliches and there's so much redundancy in a lot of the music, and there's a lack of instrumentation, like the art of real instruments. I mean, this year we've lost so many greats as you know, we just lost Billy Shaver, today. We've lost John Prine, we've lost Kenny Rogers, we've lost, Charlie Daniels, Joe Diffie, the list goes on. And so it's just like going back to the people that inspired me musically and then also inspired me as a songwriter. I wanted to give people something new. So I got this new song, I'm American, that's going to be coming out. I also just wrote a song that I had the huge honor to be a part of a project with Richard Petty. He has a new children's book, part of their Bikes for Kids Foundation, and I got to be the songwriter for the Faraway Soldier song, which is, bringing that full circle experience of, children that are out there that have a mom or dad that's, a deployed, military, in military service, whether it's, it doesn't matter what branch they're in or even the ones that come back. It's just that experience of what it's like to be a kid, living where you have a military and family member that's not home, and they're missing those special times during their children's development through grade school and holidays and birthdays. And I was really honored to be able to represent the book, our U.S. military, Richard Petty, NASCAR, the Bikes for Kids Foundation, and be able to write on this song. So I'm really excited to get these two, and then of course my new EP project that we're looking to release at the beginning of 2021 as well.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad you mentioned the Richard Petty project, because something like that can really boost somebody's career, especially something as big as NASCAR like that. And Richard Petty, who's a legend, so that's amazing that you were asked to do that project, and kudos to you on that. But again, it's because of the hard work that you've done, and I've seen it just in the time that I've known you. The fact that you work hard. I see your marketing that you put out there, and you put something out almost every day. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because obviously, as you know, we have a lot of indie artists. So let's talk about the marketing that you do and kind of the direction that you're taking that.
Yeah, sure. So really, Dave, when I'm looking at stuff, it's there's a lot that goes into being an independent artist, and I think a lot of it circles around where I think a lot of up and coming or aspiring, whether you're a musician, artist, or songwriter, I think where a lot of people go astray is they have a very difficult time of identifying who they are, and I think that's something that happens just in society as a whole. A lot of people in life, it doesn't matter what you're doing, they don't really know who they are. They don't know what their true passions are. They don't know what their goals are. And I've been very fortunate, being an entrepreneur, being someone that owns a business, and having a solar company, having a whiskey company, and of course being a musician, that I'm able to identify what those niches are. So as a musician, for example, I know that obviously and this is a parallel between my whiskey and my music, but I had the nickname Hoss, so I try to define this movement for my listeners and my fans, and so I created Hoss Nation. So that's my umbrella, and then from there it's like, okay, now you got the main umbrella of your fans and supporters. So what's next? Well, I need to identify who am I? Who is Brandon Bing? If you don't know me, it's like a sales thing. You got 10, 15 seconds at the most to capture somebody's attention. And honestly, with social media, especially like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all those platforms, YouTube, you got really probably 5 seconds or less to have either something in your caption or something on your picture or your video content that's going to make someone want to linger and stand on your page or look into more of the stuff about you, right? So I'm always trying to find, content that has connecting points, things that show progress. Whenever you put something out, you don't want to just post something to post it. I think you want to post something that's kind of mapping, what are you promoting? If you look at my Back in the Woods record and you look at my social media, you can see all the stuff that I did to get people hyped up about it, whether it's story posts, whether it's regular posts, whether it's certain hashtags, whether it's certain captions. and finding things that are going to create engagement. You could just put a picture out, but if you don't have the right hashtags that direct the traffic that are the people you're trying to source, or if you're not putting the right keywords, or if you're not making the right caption that's going to draw attention to what the purpose of the post is for, then you're really losing people. And I think a lot of people just post to post versus posting because they actually have an end game or a goal. And for me, I've been doing that consistently and through trial and tribulation, looking at the insights, checking the streams on Spotify, iTunes, checking my YouTube traffic, checking my Facebook and Instagram traffic, responding to every person. If anybody goes back, and you know this as well, Dave, if you go back and look at my content, if you go and look at my posts, I will respond to every comment. I will try to do something different in every person's response. I don't duplicate. I always try to make it somewhat different, even if it's one or two words, or adding a question. How's your day going? How's your week? Something to keep them going, which works with algorithm, obviously, but also helps direct traffic. When there's a consistent amount of people engaging with your content, more people are going to actively be able to be reached organically. More people are going to be able to see it, and you're going to have a better chance of getting penetration to your brand. And then, of course, obviously, this year has been kind of difficult because of the whole COVID situation. But just being able to, I've done live streams, I've done radio takeovers, I've done, I put myself out there, I've done contests, I've done giveaways, and then, of course, trying to find any type of, off-the-chart bars or small venues or festivals that I could get on to that were a little bit more lax this year with all things that are going on, so that I could keep showing that I'm out there hustling and grinding and bringing new music and engaging with people and trying to grow my fan base.
That's great, and it makes a lot of sense. We talked in length about what you just said too with Joel Hoekstra, the guitarist for Whitesnake, and he said almost identical what you said as far as the social media and the importance of engaging with your fans, because if you do that, like you said, it keeps them engaged, and it almost feels like they're the most important fan that you have. And if you can do that and you can keep that, that fan base going like that, there's, the sky's the limit, especially with TikTok right now. There's, when you talk about algorithms, I mean, right now is the perfect time to get onto TikTok if you're an indie artist, because their algorithms aren't set up like they are in Instagram and Twitter and some of the others that you can gain a huge following and fan base on TikTok right now if you have the right niche, which you were talking about earlier. If you have the right niche, I think that's that's definitely one of the better social media platforms as far as I'm concerned right now, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's something I'm trying to learn. I really haven't got the what do you call it, the dances and stuff down yet. I mean, and I'm a line dancer, two-stepper, but some of that, I don't think you're going to see me out there whopping. I'm going to do that, but I'll try to do some, share some videos and some raw content, and just, I think, like I said, keeping people engaged and letting them see, the inside. Also, I think, with your content, and this is something that I recommend for any indie artist, you got to understand, these people, it's not like it was back in the day, where people were buying. I mean, people are starting to buy records. Obviously, vinyl had its biggest comeback in the last year than it's had since like 1980, I think. So, there are different exceptions. However, for the indie artist who doesn't have those platforms, who doesn't have the label support and the PR teams and things like that are really pushing them and getting them on radio, you got to get asses in seats and you got to sell merchandise. So the only way that you can really do that is making sure that you have stuff that's going to make people want to come see you. You're staying true to yourself. Don't be somebody that you're not. I think that people get so caught up trying to emulate or be like the other artists that are out there. Maybe there's a sense of fear. Maybe they feel that, if they don't do what's status quo or what's trending, that they're not going to have a chance, but that's not true. The key is what you want to do is what is your niche? What's going to make your stuff pop and stand out amongst the rest? Because if you're just like the other 1,000 people that come to Nashville trying to be musicians, for example, because they want to be the next big country star, you're going to get lost in the smoke, and you're going to be here today, gone tomorrow, and then you're going to probably be the broke musician on the side of the road, sitting there with a tip bucket trying to figure out how they're going to get gas in their car or pay rent,
Yeah, that exactly. And I'm glad that you said, to be yourself and to just be who you are as an artist, because I think that one thing I've learned being in the business for so many years is that, you're, like you said, sometimes you're here today, gone tomorrow. But I think the people that sustain their careers are the ones that never, veered off from who they are as an artist. And I don't think you're going to necessarily, gain millions of fans, right away. It's going to take time, and sometimes success takes years sometimes to succeed in the business. But if you stay the course and you keep going and doing what you're doing, you're going to get people that'll be attracted to you, because, they just don't know about you yet. Like you said, if you get yourself out there and market you're going to find a fan base that likes what you're doing. Not everybody's going to like Dave Hondel's podcast, because I don't do a lot of video podcasts. I do the old time radio podcast, but that's what I enjoy doing. But I'm not willing to, to change because of what somebody might tell me, an opinion. I believe that there's going to be people, and I'm already seeing that, I think, in my Instagram follows, that people are starting to know about me and so forth. But so that was well said, what you said earlier. Just stay who you are, and people will find you.
Absolutely. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you work at something long enough, hard enough, you'll make it. Like it doesn't matter. It's undeniable that if you work at something, if you have any ounce of talent, like clearly, if you're not able to sing, or clearly if you can't hit a certain melody, have a certain melody or hit a certain note, and you don't know how to adjust or make changes or get the right coaching or whatever it is, it's like, you can't put a quarterback on a field and everybody's not going to wake up with a cannon arm, or a ability to, change plays at a line like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, for example. You got to be able to find that happy medium that makes you attractive. And people are attracted to two things. They're attracted to things that they can't have. They're attracted to people that are authentic. When they see that you're real and you're not changing organically, the right people that are going to gear and be your fan base are the right ones. You don't want people on you because you're trending, because you're, I don't know, like Luke Bryan or Keith Urban or Sam Hunt or Thomas Rhett. You know what I mean? Like, nothing against any of them. They're great musicians in their own right, but they have their own lane. So, if you're someone that's a little bit different, and you have a different vocal style like me, I have a gritty vocal. I have more of a raw, ruggedness to me. A lot of my music is, I got Southern rock and roll and folklore lyrical influences, and, with this mix of more like a red dirt, honky tonk, traditional, classic, country element. And I'm kind of creating my own hybrid. I'm letting it dictate itself by the songs that I write. And as I release different bodies of work, then people are going to see that growth and the artistry that I bring to the table. And that's the other thing, is people don't want to see somebody that's not making progress. So if you hit a plateau, you're going to be SOL, up a creek without a paddle, and you're going to be dead in the water. You have to find a way to adapt. You were talking about people that have lasted the longest because they stayed true to themselves, like Dolly, like Garth, like George Strait, like people like that, Reba's. Those people, the reason why they've been around, 20, 30, 40, 50 years is because of the fact that they stayed true to themselves. They didn't change, but they did find ways to adapt with all the changes. When they weren't around, there was no such thing as social media when they got their starts, but what are they doing now? Social media. You got Garth and Trisha Yearwood doing the G Studio series, and they're doing live broadcasts and live shows and streams. They're finding ways to use that so they don't lose their fan base. And also, it gives them the opportunity to capture a new base of fans that didn't grow up in the area that they came up in the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? The new 2020 and the new 2000, generations and things like that. So it's kind of cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We interview a lot of older artists from the '80s and '90s on the show, and I love to see their success still when they're in their 60s right now, their 50s and 60s, because there's a lot of people that become new fans that are younger, even teenagers and early 20s, college age kids that listen to their music that have never heard them before, and it's because of the talent, and they haven't changed, because some music comes back and that wasn't maybe famous a couple years ago or 10, 20 years ago, that might have been big when we were kids, but it's nice to see those artists, like you said, Dolly and George and some of those other ones that sustain their success well into their 50s and 60s, that get the new fan bases, like you said. Social media has a lot to do with that. So just real quick, going back to the social media things, I know we talked a lot about it, but when we talk about social media marketing and getting into social media, I think it's important to really kind of highlight the fact that social media is great and all, but I think one of the biggest things is to actually get back out in front of people and perform live, and you just have to be itching to get back out there, right? I mean, I can't say it enough. I mean, I think you have to get back in front of the people, right? And so you have something new coming up, a performance, right?
Yeah, I actually just played a show in Portland, Tennessee, by the Kentucky Line this past week, and then I got a show coming up, the first annual Fall Festival on the 14th of November next month in Lebanon, Tennessee, right outside Nashville. So I'll be playing in that, and then I'm playing at a veterans camp on the 5th of December in Hickston, Georgia. I'll be putting some updates and stuff on both of these events and flyers, in the coming weeks, to let people, know, like, locations and times and all the other stuff going on. But I'm really excited about the festival. I'm really excited about the Georgia show, because we're also going to be doing a show. We're working on the final details, but we should be doing a show at Kerrigan's in Vidalia in Lyons, Georgia, on that Saturday night, the 5th, as well, in December, after the veterans event that they're doing with, like, they're doing a Toys for Tot, like a fundraiser and thing to help out families that are in need, and it's also tied in with the U.S. military. So I'm really excited to be a part about that, because I do a lot of stuff in my other businesses with the military back at home in Florida, and to be able to do that on the platform with my music is going to be a huge honor. And having these vets and just other people in the community come back home around the holiday season to listen to some good songwriting, and I get a few of my buddies that are going to be coming. I got my buddy Dustin Herring, I got my buddy Zach Haywood and Austin Bishop. They're coming down, and we're going to be putting on a good show for the town. So it's going to be a good time.
So what? How are you performing? I mean, is it like an outdoor event, or how are they doing this with COVID?
Yeah, so it's I think it's really man, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, honestly, because and everybody has varying opinions. So I really try to be cautious, on my own. I take the necessary measures to try to, quote unquote, what they call like social distance and keep myself safe, obviously, because if I get sick or ill, I'm obviously not going to be able to perform, and I don't want that. So, we, like the one that we did this past week and at the pub up in Portland, we had our own corner section, and the high tops were back, and then they had people like spaced out from different sections of the bar. Like, obviously people at their own tables. It was like table service. So like if you were there and like if somebody was there, like husband, wife, and kids, like they could be at a table because they're a family unit, right? And then like the next table was, a handful of friends. Like, so it was like 3 to 5 people at each table, roughly.
Well, I think it's awesome that you're allowed to perform live right now, and it sounds like they're taking the precautions that are needed. So I think that's great. Brandon, I want to talk about how our listeners can find you on social media, because I know since our last interview, we've gained quite a few listeners. So let's talk about where they can find Brandon Bing.
For sure, brother. Yeah, if they want to go find me, Dave, they can go on Facebook, Instagram, under Brandon Bing Music. You can also find me at The Hoss Music on Twitter. YouTube is under Brandon Bing Music, and still working on the TikTok twinks, but I'm working out the kinks. So just bear with me on the TikTok. Like I said, we ain't doing none of those dancing videos, but you can find me on there too. So, yeah, I appreciate all the support, and also my music's on Spotify, iTunes. You could even say Alexa. Yes, you can say Alexa, and say play Brandon Bing, and it'll play that for you. So got that on there, and we also got it on Pandora and all other streaming platforms. So looking forward to bringing everybody new music, and got a lot of stuff on the on the horizon and cooking up in the pot behind the scenes. So super excited about it.
Well, Brandon, I can't thank you enough for coming on my show again tonight. You have a lot of great projects coming up. We can't wait to hear them and push them on our show. Again, thank you for joining me, and best of luck to you in the future.
Hey, Dave, man, I appreciate you having me on Stage Door as always. It's always a pleasure to catch up and just go over things with, the projects and music that I have going on, and see how you're doing as well. And I can't wait for you to hear the new music I got coming out, and look forward to coming back on the show again soon. So appreciate you, and stay safe out there, and hopefully talk to you, I guess, it'll probably be the new year. So have a happy holiday season, and see you later, buddy.